Well, here we are back for another 10 Talk. Your experts, Father Michael O'Connor and
Miss Price.
You're experts because, well, we've never been married, but we have lots of great ideas for you to share with you about your marriage and your dating. Last week, we started with the theme of pandemic dates, places you can go and things you can do to kind of spark that interest again in your married life and continue to grow in your love for each other. This week, we want to give you some ideas about what to talk about on those dates.
And we're basing all of our talk on this one book that Father Michael showed me called The 10 Great Dates to Energize Your Marriage by David and Claudia Arp. Fantastic.
And I'd just like to add that here at Clearwater, we focus a lot on marriage enrichment programs rather than, there's lots of ways to look at marriage. There's lots of programs for marriage prep before you get married. And then there's moments of crisis management for marriages. And if we offer these marriage enrichment courses, then it kind of prevents that second step from ever happening because you're already growing in your marriage. So we continue to want to offer these as we've done in past years with our program called Friday Night Lights, where we take different themes and give the couples of our community the opportunity to grow in their marriage together. So that's kind of the basis for the desire to give these talks, and we've taken this book again and want to promote it.
Yeah, because you never want your marriage to grow stale.
That's
right.
Like
something that's stagnant is not growing, and therefore.
Exactly.
Okay, not that extreme. But okay, so this book is fantastic. It's interactive and very informative. It's written by two psychologists, so you know it's good. I'm going to give you a basic outline of how they go through the subjects in the book. So obviously, as the title says, there's 10 great dates. And each great date comes with a short reading on the theme, an exercise to be completed individually as wife and husband before you come together for your date. And then you take your homework, your two little sheets. They're easy, don't worry. It's nothing. There's no math. And you bring that on your date and you talk about your different responses to the questions that were in the exercises and just see what happens.
Exactly. And the questions are designed to help you to go into topics that are maybe not top of your mind, but are very important for your marriage. And they also give some smart tips for great dates at the beginning of each chapter that are to be reviewed over and over again because they really do keep the dates on track and online. So the first tip is stay positive. This is a great date, right? It should be something that you look forward to, that you anticipate with great expectation, and that you enjoy. So helping your partner by staying positive is going to do a lot of good. Second tip is talk about your relationship, not about your kids, your job, or your in-laws, but focus on the relationship. Number 3, be future focused. Don't bring up past issues, things that have happened in the past that are not helpful to your conversation in that moment. Number 4, if you get on a negative track, stop. Go and get a milkshake with 2 straws and enjoy some time together.
That sounds like the best part.
Yes. Number 5, if you get really stuck, ask for help. Look to an experienced couple that has gone through years of marriage that can give you some guidance. Look to your parish priest, or look in the book and find something that might give you some ideas about how to get through these moments. Number 6, use good communication skills. And this includes being honest, yet never unkind. Start your sentences with I and let them reflect back on you. Resist attacking the other or defending yourself. Be positive and be specific. And finally, have fun. Enjoy these great dates with excitement.
Those are some good guidelines. Okay, we are going to jump into talking about the first 5 of the 10 great dates. We didn't want to give you the whole thing because we don't want you to get all the answers from us because the book is way better.
A little cliffhanger so you can go and look at the book, which we will include in the description at the end of this video.
Yep, I found a link. It's cheap. It's not expensive. Okay, so date number 1. The theme for this date is choosing a high priority marriage. Note, for me, what was important in this is it says choosing. So this isn't something that just happens automatically.
No.
And okay, some of the questions that go with this. Is your marriage the first priority in your life? On this date, you're going to take a trip down memory lane and together remember when you first met and couldn't bear to be apart. What were your first impressions of each other? What attracted you to each other? Focusing on good memories reminds you of the importance of your marriage and can help reignite the spark, whatever that is. This process will also help you to affirm what is great about your marriage and consider how to make it even better as you make your way through the next 10 dates. And the cherry on top of this whole thing is you get to end with a 20-second hug.
Amazing. Sounds like a great date. All right, and the second date is entitled Learning to Communicate. Do you know your spouse's communication style? Because there are many different styles of communication, and maybe your spouse needs you to communicate in a different way than you are doing it right now. And that's what you can talk about on this date. Do you say what you mean and mean what you say? This date is, number one, about recognizing what you do and don't like to talk about as a couple. What are some of your favorite topics to discuss? What things usually do you agree on together and bring about positive interactions between the two of you? And what's the least favorite topics that you have and you need to discuss at times? Are there subjects that you tend to avoid or to debate or that promote negative interactions between the two of you? On this date, they encourage you just to list them. Yeah. Don't talk about them yet. That's not the time, especially when you're trying to stay positive, right? Especially with that list of negative things that you maybe have to talk about, but it's not for that date. And the second part of this second date is about learning how the other person responds to the different forms of communication and finding ways of identifying and expressing these emotions so that you're doing positive communication and really being effective in your communication with your spouse.
Date number 3 takes all of that to another level. This theme is called Solving Problems as a Couple. How do you handle conflict as an individual, as a couple? What is your default? Do you talk about your anger? Or is it a matter of like, oh, just sweep that away and never talk about it and hope it doesn't come out sideways?
We know how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not married and we know how that goes. Do you have a respectful process for solving problems as a couple? This date is all about helping you learn ways to talk about issues and manage and solve problems as a couple that will build your relationship instead of tearing it down. Dave and Claudia have some suggestions for how to constructively work through your anger and get down to the real problem. Something that I learned in reading about this is that anger isn't actually a primary emotion. It's the secondary emotion, which means that it's the emotion that comes after having felt something else, like, for instance, fear, frustration. And so by addressing the anger, you're not actually getting to the root of the problem. You need to go back to the primary emotion. And that's the one that as a couple you need to talk about in order to solve the problem.
Cool. I get the next date, and it's a fun one. Date number 4, becoming an encourager.
Woo!
Did you know that psychologists tell us that it takes up to 5 positive statements to offset 1 negative statement?
That was shocking. That actually shocked me.
That's a lot of positive comments. That's avoiding all negative comments at every cost because of how much an impact it has on your spouse, right? So when was the last time you told your spouse how much you appreciate them? Were you specific and honest with your praise rather than kind of passive and falsely saying something just for the sake of it, right? Have you laughed with your spouse recently? This is a good one. Laughter is the first cousin of encouragement. This date will give you an opportunity to actually say the positive things that you think about your spouse out loud, right? And say it to them. Sometimes I think that in a marriage, you assume that they know that I love them. They know that I appreciate these things about them. But naming those things means so much to your spouse. So what you focus on grows. If you want your marriage full of weeds, focus on your mate's faults. If you want a garden full of flowers, focus your thoughts and efforts on your mate's flowers. This quote was really good, and I thought I'd include it. If you treat a man as he is, he will stay as he is. If you treat him as if he were what he ought to be and could be, he will become that bigger and better man. Johann Wolfgang Van Gogh?
I think it's Van Gogh.
Okay, we'll go with that one.
If there's any music majors out there, just let us know.
It's an excellent quote, so take the quote.
Okay, date number 5 is called Finding Unity in Our Diversity. Surprise! You're different from your spouse. I don't know if you noticed that already. You have strengths and weaknesses, and so do they. If you allow each other to operate in your respective areas of strengths, and can do so without feeling threatened by one another, your complementarity has the potential to build a great marriage partnership. You have to understand and appreciate the unique strengths evident in your similarities and differences. On this date, you will evaluate each of your strengths and weaknesses according to 7 different continuums. Okay, and continuums meaning where do you find yourself on this between A and B. So the first continuum is private versus public. The second is spontaneous versus planner. The third is live wire versus laid back. The fourth is early bird versus night owl.
These sounds like very fun things to talk about, actually. Are you this or that? And then you probably know each other quite well, but just imagining the answers to these questions, I can see you guys having fun.
Yeah, I agree. The next is, are you feelings oriented versus facts oriented? The next is, are you time focused versus not time focused? And the last is, are you a saver versus a spender? And I think those are also all topics that if they're not discussed and understood, they could subconsciously cause tension because you're sitting there going like, why is he crazy? I don't understand. So yeah. And the last thing on that date is to talk about your team. Did anything surprise you about your spouse? In what ways do your differences balance each other? In what ways are you so similar that your tendencies might actually pose a liability?
Awesome. Well, those are the first 5 dates. Those are just to get your taste buds going. Ready.
That's all you get.
You're looking for more, I can tell. And I think that you're really going to enjoy this book if you're able to get it and go on these dates. Even just taking these ideas that we've given you already to get things going is going to be fantastic for your marriage as you go forward. So we hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and we will be here praying for you as you go on your dates and have these great conversations. God bless you and have a wonderful week.
Bye.